The situation currently in Georgia is that the opposition is not accepting the election results and hits the streets from the time to time in peaceful protest. We hear from different people, groups, institutions that these protests translate into Lari depreciation on the market. But is it true?
Thanks, Georgi, for asking this question. Our journalist, Anna Tabadze, decided to answer this question by looking at the history of Lari depreciation when there was a mass protest going on in the country, and while being an additional factor to the formation of expectations, maybe we will see that mass protests cannot be named as a leading factor, of course.
Well, it's high time. It's high time to see what figures tell us that. And we have Anna Tabadze who reports of this.
Georgian Finance Minister Ivan Imajawariani claimed that the sharp, leaping depreciation of the Lari in the recent week had been caused by protests launched by the opposition after the parliamentary. We declare with full responsibility that the depreciation of the Lari stems from the radicalism that is taking place in the country, the minister said. According to him, there is no other objective reason for the Lari's depreciation at the moment. The statement has raised different views among economists and experts. The Checkpoints has looked at the archive of Georgian Lari's exchange rate against the US dollar during the largest mass protests and revolution that has taken place in Georgia. Exchange rate of Lari during the 2003 Rose Revolution, which ended with the change of power in Georgia. The protests started on November 3 and ended on November 23rd. The cost of Lari stood at $2.10 US as of November 3, 2003. 2 weeks from the beginning of mass protests, it reached 2.22 on November 23rd. So as the data shows, Lari has dropped by only 0.12 towards US dollar. Let's look at the exchange rate of Lari during the anti-government protests of November 2007. November 2007 is frequently called the worst political crisis in Georgia in the past decade. Meanwhile, anti-government protests carried no impact over the exchange rate of Lari, which during the whole month of November 2007 stood at 1.62 against US dollar. Exchange rate of Lari under mass rally against President Saakashvili in 2009. 1 Lari was 1.69 US dollar on April 9 on the first day of demonstration in Georgia. The rate tendency downgraded and reached 1.64 on the peak of the rally on May 26. Georgia had numerous mass protests before the parliamentary elections of 2012, when the opposition, headed by Bizina Ivanishvili, was rallying against Mikhail Saakashvili. But for the whole month of September 2012, $1 US was worth 1.65 Lari. In June of 2019, a diplomatic incident involving Russian MP Sergei Gavrilov caused widespread civil protests in Georgia. The situation was amplified by the force that was used against protesters. Throughout the summer of 2019, Georgia had political instability, and the Lari was depreciating. Members of the Georgian government said that the depreciation was due to the civil protests, but in reality, Georgian Lari started depreciating a month earlier before the protests started. To sum up, the archive data of Lari clearly shows that the street protests are the last factor to be blamed for the depreciation of the Lari, more so today when the worldwide pandemic poses a clear threat to financial instability and serves as a fundamental factor for Lari depreciation.